Alright guys, we're here playing none other than Rogue Lineage 2. You know, I never thought I'd see the day that we finally see a sequel, or at least a spiritual successor, to one of my most beloved games of all time, Rogue Lineage. Now, the game's actually called Rogueblox. Every time I say that, I feel like I'm saying Roblox, so I'm just gonna keep calling it Rogue Lineage 2. And just like Rogue Lineage 1, you know, you progress by getting a base, super, ultra class. You know, I'm sure you guys know how to play this game. What I'm going to be doing in this video is going from base to ultra class in one video. You know, I don't think this has ever been done before. I have gotten one ultra class before. You know, this is actually my second character. Now, I'm not sure how long this is going to take. This is also going to be a solo progression. So, you know, for you new players that are struggling, get good, because, you know, I was able to do it. I mean, I'm sure this will be a piece of cake. You know, this is kind of like Rogue Lineage for babies. You know, I'm sure we won't even get ganked because everyone's like too busy, you know, like hugging it out and stuff, you know, teaming up. You know, there's no real men in this game, and that's the problem. It's just too easy. The people are too soft. But anyways, I'm done yapping. Let's just get to the progression. So, you know, the first thing I did is the first thing that everyone does in Rogue Lineage 2, and that's trinket farm. You know, there's just a million trinkets all over the ground. You know, back in my day, in real Rogue Lineage, you know, you would actually have to work to find these. You know, I definitely didn't hate every single second of looking for trinkets in Rogue 1. We're just trying to get the money to be able to get the base class off rip, and then never touch trinkets again. Right after that, boom, we're in the graveyard. You haven't played real Rogueblox until you've had to suffer from a terribly boring zombie farm. And obviously now I know there are different ways and faster ways to progress, but at the time of recording this is the like most reliable way I could think. What's insane is the zombies that actually have like some of the most HP in the game for a mob, but they're insanely easy to fight at the same time. I mean, if things get bad, you can literally just run away and they won't be able to do anything about it. So they made the easiest thing to fight also the most boring by giving it a million HP. After that, I give this guy a lurking hand to get a little extra XP through his contract. Little pro tip for you guys. Next up, 2 zombies at once. Yeah, I know guys, I'm a little bit insane here. You know, that's what separates a Rogue Lineage 1 player like me from the rest of you. And just like that, we have enough for the base class. You know, if you look underneath my health bar, you can see I'm actually still on day 0, so I was able to do all of that in under 30 minutes. Like I said guys, this is just Rogue Lineage for babies. You know, this is really nothing. I'm sure I'll be able to get this done in like maybe an hour or 2. I log in the next day and immediately head to the beach. You know, I figure it's time to finally promote ourselves from zombies to scorpions, and this is where, you know, some of the problems of the progression started to kick in. For one, I had to keep rejoining servers until I was able to find a stable one because it was just so unplayably laggy. Then secondly, I could not get anything to spawn no matter where I was going throughout this long beach. Now this is a big problem for this area specifically for some reason. You know, I didn't think of it at the time, but I could have just went to the desert and fought plenty of scorpions at a much faster rate. But you know, after joining another server, eventually I was able to find one where the spawns actually worked. I quickly went to work dispatching the entire beach of all of its wildlife. You know, all of this just for a few little scraps of XP known as super codexes. Honestly, it's not worth it at all. Just farming the zombies at the graveyard would be 100 times more efficient than what I'm doing. You know, my cries of boredom were eventually answered when I came across this traveling merchant here, and then upon checking his stock, I find this insane hammer weapon that I can't trade, can't bank. It seems incredibly strong and has a sick critical attack. Using it, I take out some bandits, you know, do a few quests just for some XP. You know, now I'm starting to really feel this build. You know, I actually have no idea what this weapon's from or where you get it. It's a hammer, but it counts as a sword. I can still use all of my skills, so it feels like a gift from the heavens at this point. Okay, I'm not even kidding. I spend probably like the next hour or 2 doing nothing, like just running around, like making food, selling trinkets, which leads to me eventually just going to the graveyard and just killing zombies for like another 30 minutes. So I'm just gonna show little parts of it right here. Alright, we finally get our alignment all the way to super, which means now we can go get our super class. So real quick, I look it up. Now the super class trainer, at least the one that we want to find, is hidden deep into the jungle. And me from a few days ago had no idea what I was getting into. The jungle might be one of the most psychotic things ever created, and I had no idea the journey that I had to go through. But I actually didn't record any of it. Not until the town was actually in sight at least. Just know I wouldn't wish that journey on my worst enemy. It's kind of disappointing because I low-key wanted to make like a crazy edit for that right now. But anyway, I get the pylon unlocked right here, and nearby just up this giant tree is none other than the super class trainer. Now off rip, I did not actually have enough money, so I go back, kill some mobs, get a little bit of more money, and finish up the super class. And just like that, we are officially an executioner. Unfortunately, the class requires us to use a greatsword, which means this hammer that has low-key carried my build up to this point is now obsolete. But you know, maxed out super class in only day 4 in game. You know, it's safe to say I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling pretty confident, thinking, yeah, this was a piece of cake. I'm already maxed in just 2 hours of playing. If only I knew. Just giving you guys a little bit of context here. This is all the footage I have for this video, all in order from when I recorded them, going from top to bottom. This is the current one that I'm using, and this one on the bottom is obviously the very last video. And you know, quick spoiler warning, but some of you guys probably know what that one is. Now, before I start the long and endless mob grind, one thing that I needed for sure was a glider, so I head through the desert, past the cactus valley, into the Badlands. I stop and kill some lizards, then eventually get my glider. I then decide to explore and find the fabled Badlands pylon. Now, I knew this thing existed at the time, but for some reason I could not find it. I was running around for probably literal hours, climbing up mountains that led to nowhere, reaching the peak of the biome. For some reason I could not find it anywhere, but along the way, you know, I just started slaying crocodiles, lizards, whatever you call these things, all throughout the land, until I stumble upon this cave. Upon entering and fighting one of the lizards, I noticed an entire horde was gathering around me. Okay, you know what? This might actually not be doable. What do I even do with a horde like this? This might take a long time, but I think I actually can kill all of them. Guys, I feel like the more I search, the more I get lost. Because how did I end up here? After searching for what felt like 2 hours, you know, I eventually gave up without finding the Badlands pylon. Eventually, I get fed up with the slow progression and I decide to go to the tundra to farm. I get to the tundra using this sneaky little cave right here. I'm not sure how many people know about this, but it's extremely useful. You know, I go in, kill some bats, use some super codexes. And I didn't mention this yet, but we're actually going the Shogun class, which means after going Chaotic Super, I then have to go all the way to Ultra Orderly, which pretty much just means we gotta do some extra grinding. Luckily, my character is the human race, so I get Orderly much faster. At least, I'm assuming it's much faster. I don't really know the actual multiplier. The reason I did this is because it's the only one that doesn't require us to grip a lot of other players. The reason I'm not doing that is simply because I have no idea how long that will take, and already this build is taking longer than I expected. Alright, for some reason my dumbass decides to go back to the beach and farm crabs. It's like I purposely chose the highest skill with the lowest reward. Anyone who's fairly new to the game and doesn't know what to grind, trust me, just grind tundra at this point, just kill howlers. You'll get so many more codexes at such a lower risk of dying. I mean, I don't know why these crabs hit like a goddamn truck when the howlers will literally just tickle you to death. Meanwhile, the crabs can also stun lock you and only drop 1 codex, while each howler drops 2 when there's 3 howlers at once. You know, I actually do enjoy this game a lot, but the mob consistency is not there. I mean, lurkers have the most HP in the game, crabs are harder to beat than howlers and drop less. You know, to make things even better, I end up dying to a scorpion. I must have just been so bored that I just forgot how to play the game. You know, because this game is for babies and I would never die to a mob on my own. You know, we get our sweet revenge on a different scorpion. But you know, we were at 4 lives before that anyway, so now we're at 3, so it's not really a big deal. But I'm just gonna skip a heavy chunk of the beach grinding right here because really, who wants to see that? I head over to the blacksmith and finally enchant our greatsword. I don't know why it took me this long to finally enchant it, but you know, it's good to have it eventually. I put lifesteal on it and farm the beach some more. Eventually though, I do explore the desert some more. I fight some of these super scorpions over here. I explore Cactus City and accomplish absolutely nothing. For some reason I thought the jungle was a better idea and I stumble upon this ant. It's fighting another mob, so I figure I have a chance. Now at the time, I've never fought like any jungle mob, so I'm just trying the ant. And of course I almost die and I run away. I barely get out with my life. And just like that, we finally have enough orderly to get our ultra class. Finally, this long, torturous run is coming to an end. Just looked up what we gotta do. This should be a piece of cake. Within a millisecond, we are under attack. We are getting ganked. All I did was use the pylon. I barely even had enough time to start recording. You know, what I love about this fight the most is that we're greatsword and we're going against a dagger. You know, anyone who's ever experienced that matchup knows what I'm going through right now. Oh, wow. You know, all we had to do was get over here to the tundra. But luckily, we did get that unseen aid. Now, when I was first doing this, I was a little nervous because I thought the tundra was going to be an actual threat like it is in Rogue Lineage, but we're playing Rogue Lineage Junior. Alright guys, and finally, at long last, I finally have gotten the ultra class. In one video, it was a piece of cake. Just a large piece of time. You know, I'm on day 18 in game, so that means I was playing for 9 hours just for this video. So be sure to like and subscribe to make it worth it. Moving on to the shoutouts of today's video. I know I don't upload that often, but I will always remember to shout out comments from my last video. But first, we got Bartek v Zombies 3950. You know, he just says Mihawk. Yeah, I love Mihawk too. You know, even though he does paint his blade black, I do gotta accept that he does beat Roger. Shoutouts to Myko Rec 8 and Beep 1650. Hopefully he doesn't get his hopes up too much for that part 2. And what do we have here? NAT scene. You know, he's calling out Myko Rec for fake love. This is insane, guys. Things are getting heated. But let's see what he has to say in the comments. Can I get a so I love you so much, Skinny Duck?